Questions have long hovered over Scott Morrison's suitability to be Prime Minister. It's a position very few achieve. And at what cost has his Prime Ministership become so damaging that we may never recover from his legacy of destruction? Maybe never. Australia is simply being torn apart at the seams because of him. The past 18 months and since taking office have exemplified why. Nearly everything he has done has undermined Australia's future. His failure to represent what is in the best interests of Australians is seeing Australia pay a heavy price. Simply, he's sold Australia out. He's sold out Australia's freedoms, our rights, the right to self-determination, to be independent, even our standing in the world, and Australians' constitutional rights have gone. He has failed to protect the interests of Australians overseas. He's turned his back and closed the borders to re-entry. And because of him, Australia is now a global joke, viewed internationally as backward. What the world sees and how Australia is locking down for small numbers with no national uniformity reinforces that. Morrison, like the US, wants to be a global sheriff, but he has turned his back on the Afghan people when they need Australia's support. He's failed Julian Assange, leaving him to rot in jail and face false charges of espionage and rape without any diplomatic support. He even chose a Hawaiian holiday while the east coast of Australia burned to the ground. And his failure to do what is in Australia's best interest has damaged Australia irreparably. Morrison is simply unfit to be Prime Minister. Now, throughout COVID, he has allowed the states to dictate exactly what they want, contravening the constitutional rights of Australians. Morrison's refusal to challenge the Western Australia Premier's move to close borders and attach vaccine requirements for entry is a precedent that should never have allowed. His refusal to fight against a move that breaches Australia's constitution has set Australia towards being a divided nation and constitutional gridlock. Australia, thanks to Morrison, is now a nation amongst nations and no longer unified. His duplicity means Australians no longer control their own fortune. Morrison should have fought tooth and nail to uphold the constitutional rights of Australians. Instead, he turned his back on every Australian to save his own political future. A short-sighted strategy to save 2 seats in Western Australia when he should be rallying for Australians. It's a decision that will haunt him come the next federal election. Now, as Morrison has always done, he has chosen self-interest over his prime ministerial responsibilities. Closing state borders, vaccine thresholds, rolling lockdowns breach every Australian's constitutional rights. And rather than instruct the federal government to act in the High Court when states violate the Constitution, he has sat on his hands. The time has come for Morrison to rethink how to try and repair the damage that he has done to Australia. But can he and has the time to fix the problem expired? If he can, then he must look to former Prime Minister Paul Keating and understand what Keating would have done. But Morrison isn't a student of politics. Keating would never have allowed the states to run independently of what is not in Australia's national interest, nor would he have abandoned his responsibilities as Prime Minister. Keating understood the importance of a unified Australia, a nation not divided. Australia under Morrison is divided. Now, had the Premiers behaved the way they have under Keating, he would have told them Australians and the economy will not be held to ransom. Keating's strategy would have been a blunt force approach. He would have said, open the borders or all federal and GST funding is withdrawn for good and you can go it alone. A directive that would have ended border closures and the reckless destruction of Australia, lives and the economy. The time has come for Morrison to adopt a strategy that strangles the states financially and ends the border closure madness. And then again, Morrison is definitely no Keating. And stupidity is no excuse for political incompetence. And come next year, Australia may have another political basket case as PM in Anthony Albanese.